Welcome to The Shift, where we bring universal concepts back down to earth. Since Valentine's Day is just around the corner, we thought we'd take a good hard look at that one little romantic tool that gets it all started, flirting. Everyone has their own style. Some work, some don't, and some are just a mixed up mess. Today we'll discuss whether or not flirting is a game and how to have fun with it, how you might not even know when you're doing it, and the pros and cons of flirting in a digital age. With me today are Desiree Perez.
Hi.
And Ryan Sims.
Good to see you.
Thanks, guys. And are you the sharpshooter that tells it like it is, or do you tend to beat around the bush? Let's talk about direct versus indirect flirting now. We've all probably been there. You spot that beautiful person across the room and you want to get to know them. So you gather up your courage, walk over, and then say what? You can't just say, "You're beautiful, will you go out with me?" Or can you? And you can't just totally play it aloof either. Flirting techniques run the gamut from cheesy pickup lines like angels falling from heaven to nagging, where you play on a person's insecurities until they're falling over themselves trying to impress you. Yeah, people actually do that. And in a recent blog post from Mark Manson, postmasculine.com, he put it well when he said, "A society that agrees that sexual interest should be demonstrated through dehumanizing and insulting another person is a screwed up society." So what actually works? What's successful, guys?
I don't know. I don't know. No, I mean, I would say that it depends on what you're going for. And also the situation of the person. I mean, there's a lot of variables involved, but to me, if you're seeking, a genuine connection with someone or possibly a relationship, it doesn't even have to be with that much foresight involved. If you genuinely want to get to know someone, I would imagine that a genuine approach to communicate with them would be the best way, rather than some sort of roundabout, reverse way of like being mean to them or something like that.
So that sounds good, but do you actually do that, and have you had success with it? It all sounds good in theory, I think, but there's so many rules out there now that even for girls, they're supposed to, if I like you, I'm supposed to pretend I'm not, and then you'll be interested in me. Or with guys, tell them they're not as beautiful as they are so that they'll be trying to impress you. It seems like those things are promoted a lot and used a lot.
And I think that's why a lot of people are confused. I think that's why this question is here, why we're asking it, is because, people get confused about other people's intentions when they're interacting with them, because we do it in this sort of roundabout, opposite way sometimes. And to me, I would prefer it if someone were to just, be honest and genuine with me and not necessarily play games or whatever. But that, I'm not good at games, so that could just be me. And other people might enjoy that sort of tactical flirting where they're,
like the verbal sparring,
yeah,
just teasing kind of thing.
It's invigorating for some, I think, maybe.
One thing that Postmasculine talked about in that article was the shame of sexual rejection, and how do you go up to a person with you without knowing how they're going to react to you and just put it all out there. It takes a lot of courage, and there are some people who are ready for that, and there are some people who are just not at that comfort level yet.
And if you're actually revealing things about yourself rather than either trying to project an image that's not really you, or trying to do the right thing or play the right rules or the right game so that you get the right result. I know one of the things that that Mark Manson talked about in the blog was, if you act a certain way, you're going to attract that certain kind of person too. So if you start acting really kind of sexually aggressive and too direct and almost too much, you're going to probably attract that kind of person and turn off the other people who wouldn't be into that. So just like Ryan said, I'm not into games, so you definitely would not obviously attract or a person who would want to play those games with you.
And I think it's clear that there are many different methods of execution for flirting, basically. But the common thread, I feel like, that ought to be strived for, maybe, or that might yield the best results, is just a genuine interest in the other person, not just viewing someone as like a prospective conquest, or it's not a sport flirting, or like,
which it's getting to
some people it is.
To some people it is, but really, respecting each individual as an end in themselves and not a means to something, or and not some sort of, notch on your bedpost or whatever. I don't know.
Well, now that we've kind of talked about the verbal side, let's talk about the physical side of flirting.
A lot of flirting is done non-verbally or even subconsciously. How often are we sending signals to the people around us with our body language and posture? Slight tilt of the head or widening of the stance. These are all communicating things to the people around us. Flirting can also be done physically with intention. The playful shoulder punch or placing your hand on the knee of your date. These might be considered the precursors to making a move. So when do we bridge the gap physically with flirting? How soon is too soon, and how long is too long before we might seem uninterested? So physical flirting, what do you ladies think?
It's true. We do have subconscious moves that we make when we're interested or not interested in somebody. Like when we open up our bodies and talk to people, or when we're kind of like 1 foot out the door getting ready to cut and run from a really bad date. But it's also just important to keep in mind that you need verbal confirmation. If you think somebody is sending you the vibes, they're giving you that look, they're moving their body and giving you an invitation, just always check with them first before you do anything.
What, like, can I touch you? Like that?
No, but, don't automatically assume that you can reach in and grab that there's that fine line between, I guess that's what we're talking about. What's that fine line between knowing when that advance is okay and when you're just groping somebody?
Oh, God.
I would say that the safe rule of thumb would be always let the female make the first move.
That's lazy. Lazy.
I don't know. I might agree, because sometimes it's like...
It's tricky.
Just because I'm interested in a person, I might not have decided whether I'm interested in them romantically or not. So I might be leaning in or listening, and I might be interested in them as a person, but not necessarily like, oh no, wait, what? I think it's traditional, though, that a girl usually does something first, just like, a really casual kind of thing. It's easier for a girl, to get away with it first.
But tradition doesn't necessarily mean that it's the way to go.
Not necessarily, but I think it is easier.
I think that it's more easy for a guy to be a creep than a girl to be a creep. And I think most guys, while you can furnish plenty of examples to the contrary, most guys are really worried about, like, am I being creepy, or am I coming on too strong, or So I think that, just a tip from the male population to the female population, give us either confirmation or just make the first move. Let's go back for a second just to the nonverbal sort of subconscious flirting or the body language
things
stuff,
you're doing that you don't necessarily notice you're doing.
Right. So how much of that is a reflection of how you're feeling, the state of your mind and heart, and how you're feeling on the inside? Because I can think of situations where one might be putting off, closed off, postures,
right,
or not seemingly interested in people around them, or not friendly. And which it's not necessarily the case. Maybe they would like someone to come talk to them, but they're not feeling that great about themselves or on the inside.
And they're not
or
aware
like
that they're giving off that signal.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And how it seems pretty important to have a grasp of what's going on in here
in your own
because
body,
you are constantly communicating with other people. Through these physical cues and stuff like that. So what are like some things, I don't know, that I guess we can think about?
Just for me, it's been so important to really know my own body. Like what is my own body communicating, even with myself? Like what kind of postures do I take? How do I feel in general? And then knowing where that's stemming from inside of me. Because I think a lot of times we do things, like tapping our fingers or, biting our nails or always playing with our ear that may not be, something I want to communicate with anyone else, not even just romantically, but in general. But I'm so unaware of it that I have no idea how I'm coming across.
Right.
So knowing what's going on inside of my body and knowing what I'm actually doing with my body and where that's coming from seems like a really good place to start before trying to communicate with others intentionally anyway.
It's a great place to start because you gotta know where you're coming from before you can even pretend to know where somebody else is coming from.
Right. Well, I know we're talking a lot about how different kinds of signals we're giving off, but especially like in this day and age, we've got technology. So why don't we talk a little bit about how technology is changing our flirting and our dating scene?
Well, we are living in a digital age, and there's no doubt about that. And even our dating has moved online. Most people you meet will probably have an online dating profile. We have relationships going on over Skype. People are sexting. I mean, there's no escaping that technology is creeping into our personal lives. Even Cosmo had an article recently about how dating is affected by technology. So let's talk about tech and, well, tech in our sex lives.
I think it's interesting how much it's changed even just like in the past like 10 years from online dating being really just the creeper scene. And now it's a legitimate way to meet people and especially match up with people that share common interests really quickly. So it's kind of like, you know, weeding out a lot of people that you would necessarily have to go through and find out about first before you would know who we match up.
One of the benefits for sure of, you know, the digital age of dating is that you get to meet people outside of your normal social boundaries. You know, it used to be that you only dated people in your small town. You know, it used to be that you only dated people you met at this bar.
Or your circle of friends.
Exactly. But now you can put your profile out there. I've never actually done it, so I'm not sure how effective it is. Yeah. But you can put your profile out there and you can meet people who you otherwise probably wouldn't have. So
something like Skype or FaceTime or any sort of video chat for long-distance relationships seems like a really added benefit.
Invaluable.
Oh, yeah. It is so invaluable.
You can see them.
You can see the person, you can see their face, you can see their facial expressions, you know, and also on top of hearing their voice and stuff like that. You know, I think that would be a benefit in possibly allowing a long-distance relationship to
survive longer.
To survive
I
a little
love
bit.
it.
Yeah, for sure.
I use it for a long-distance relationship.
Yeah.
You know, it's the only way you can keep it going sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I know our viewers have a lot of questions too, so why don't we go to our energy Q&A. Today's energy question comes from David on Twitter. I'm a nice guy and I stay away from greasy pickup lines, but they seem to work. Why?
I would say that they work only on certain people. I actually don't have any first-hand experience with this. I haven't used these lines, but I have witnessed what appear to be the success of them. And I think it comes back to, you know, just what the receiver of that pickup line is really going for and what type of person they might be. They might be slightly greasy as well, and therefore they're cool with it, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like this is a case of the greasy lines work on someone who's into that kind of thing. And if you want to attract that kind of person, then go for it. But if you're looking for an honest, down-to-earth kind of person, you probably want to communicate that way. There you have it. Give us your take on Facebook and Twitter. What's the greasiest pickup line you've ever heard? And what actually works for you? Thanks for watching The Shift, and see you later.